Hey everyone, it's Ivan, KPatcher.com, out here for another gear review, and today talking optics. This guy right here, which is by Holosun. It is the AEMS, Advanced Enclosed Microsight. What does all that stuff mean? It's a red dot. In this case, actually a green dot. And with it, there are a bunch of kind of standard things you get from Holosun as far as features and stuff like that. And yeah, I'll go over those now. Like most Holosun optics, there's a bunch of built-in features, whether you use them or not, such as shake weight. And also on top, there is a solar cell. Over here on the left side of the optic, you have your buttons where you can actually go through, change modes, get rid of shake awake if you don't want that. And you can also change reticles. So this offers the 2 MOA dot, 32 MOA circle, or the circle and the dot. Right here you have your windage for zeroing it, and something actually kind of cool is these pieces, clear windows, they pop down, both the front and the back. So think of them as sacrificial lenses, or if you've ever seen racing, like dirt bikes, they basically have like peel-off goggles, or clear plastic to peel off, kind of along those lines. So if this gets super abraded or gets covered, snap it down and you now have your clear field of view again. Over here, battery compartment, more elevation, or your elevation rather, windage on the other side. But yeah, overall, pretty clean, small little encased emitter and machined out of aluminum. And a quick aside on mounts. Oftentimes, optic companies will include a mount, which is fine because that way it's actually usable, especially if someone's not going to buy another mount. But, I have yet to see an optic company that actually makes like a really good mount. Exception maybe being some of the rings by like Night Force. So invariably, the aftermarket honestly ends up making better mounts, which is fine. But, Holosun decided to stray from any standard footprint when they made the AEMS. Awesome. Fortunately, this is actually a adapter plate, I want to say by AMMJ Solutions. So it goes on to the bottom of AEMS, then the bottom of it is Aimpoint T1, T2 footprint, standard, industry standard. With that, Scalarworks lead mount with the Aimpoint footprint. Fast forward, again, this was super early. Fast forward, Scalarworks and a number of other companies now actually make direct mounts for the AEMS, just so you know. Which I guess brings me to how have I used it and then how is it done for me? Well, as far as use, I've actually shot it a lot. I've shot it on a number of different like host guns. This one right here being the most kind of recent setup I've been doing shooting with. This is a 11.5 Griffin Armament with their Recce 5K, Holosun LE221 green, I think. SureFire Vampire with one of the 100 Concepts light cap, and Unity, one of their new, I think, sync switches, I want to say. And then, yeah, set optic and one of the old stoner rifle grips that was a little custom job. And then this guy right here, which is the padded Sling by EOTEC. So, in my experience, it's honestly done a good job for me. Done pretty much everything I asked, whether it was on this weapon or other guns I've shot it on. I've also recently done some shooting with this, actually using night vision, because lots of times that's something people are looking for. And it's like, hey, how does this do under knots? And a couple things going for it. One, the eye box is pretty big. I definitely do appreciate that. And it's helpful under nods. And the reticle, the fact you can change it either a dot or lots of times I'll just run a circle dot. It comes through pretty good. Something I do appreciate that they did a good job with this light transmission. It's not the most amazing thing. It's probably better actually if you flip these things down. Haven't really played with that. But what I do appreciate is the illumination, in that lots of times someone will be like, hey, we have night vision settings. And you're like, oh, that'll be perfect if there's street lights and I'm using white light in conjunction with it under knots, because it's so bright. It'll be so bright that if you try and shoot passive, it just washes everything out. This will actually get really dim to where, yeah, you can actually shoot passive and really refine it. All of that said, is there anything I don't really care for about this optic? Yes, kind of two things, and honestly, they're both just kind of personal preference. So for one, again, sample size of one, I wear prescription lenses, I have an astigmatism, and there's always kind of a halo around the reticle in there for me. It's not super clean. And hey, is it just your eyes? Maybe, but like by comparison, usually the EOTEC is cleaner for me. Again, apples to oranges, this being basically like conventional red dot, where EOTEC is a holographic. And so as a quick aside with that, like, yes, this is about half the price of an EOTEC, and it does have night vision, fairly good like field of view, but it is definitely not as clean as the EOTEC under nods, and just something to be aware of. Still don't understand the magic of EOTEC, but if you put a magnifier behind it, everything is magnified except your reticle. You put a magnifier behind a red dot and your 2 MOA dot turns into like 6 MOA or whatever magnification. But that aside, astigmatism or otherwise, it's not super clean and crisp to my eyes. The other thing is, again, kind of personal preference. Like, I think I like the idea of green reticles more than I like green reticles. So science behind it, if you're unaware, is a human eye can pick up more shades of green than any other color, which is why originally night vision was green phos. Why is that? Glad you asked. Basically, green is directly, more or less directly in the center of the visible spectrum. On the far right, far left, you have reds and blues, ultraviolet, infrared, like pushing out, no longer visible. So those colors, reds and blues, disappear before green does. So in theory, green is the best, easier to pick up. I will say with like visible lasers, I find that to be true. But with dots, I don't know, especially the place I usually run into it, honestly, with green dots is reducing them down to where you can barely see them to 0, get a really good refined sight picture. And I find, yeah, the green just disappears far before the red. And I understand I'm trying to make it low, but yeah, harder to get that contrast. Sample size of 1. All of that said though, I think it's a good optic, and I think it's a good option, especially for night vision. Like I said, pretty good sized field of view, not too dark with respect to light transmission, and actually legitimate night vision settings, which is nice. And now the aftermarket has also caught up, so you can get factory mounts, kind of whatever you want, whatever height, all of those things. Price wise, you're looking at around $400, usually a little bit more expensive for green versus red, but yeah, pretty solid little optic. If you're interested, there'll be links down below if you want to check it out. And last but not least, if you appreciate my content and want to support it, greatly appreciate it. One of the ways is supporting me directly through Patreon, where you get early access to videos, some exclusive stuff, and if you have questions for me, active Discord, happy to answer them over there. But as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.
The secret way to live a life. The end of that genocide. We have no hope of saving pride.